So, Assalamu alaikum. I hope you're doing good. So, now I can start my lesson here. Alright. Okay, before jumping into the topic, let me discuss that how. Okay, I gonna take any topic from science. Alright. So, before jumping into the topic, let me discuss the preview of that topic, which is actually gaseous exchange in animal. Gaseous exchange in animals. Alright, so here we have a topic for science. I'm gonna elaborate you in detail. Alright, so gaseous exchange in animals, that how gases will come inside and outside the body. It actually mean to okay. So how gases will come inside the body and then it will go outward, and definitely there will be a separate mechanism that how these gases are going into the body and how our cells receive it, and how our cells is actually responding upon that mechanism basically. So for gaseous exchange we have two different separate mechanism. We have inhalation as well as exhalation. All right. So we have inhalation, and next we have exhalation. They have different characteristic as well. And all right, and inhalation. What happens after that? The oxygen gas, which is a diatomic molecule, will come into the body. All right, oxygen will go inward to the body, and then there in exhalation, what happens that carbon dioxide gas will move toward outward. Okay, so there's a simple and common thing we need to know about inhalation and exhalation, and we already know that where it comes from, that oxygen, it comes from, like in the atmosphere, we all know that it is present, but we need to know that in the atmosphere where it comes from. So first, look at the thing that is photosynthesis. From photosynthesis, this oxygen will come into the atmosphere. Okay, so question that where it come? I'm talking about oxygen. So where it comes, you need to know that by photosynthesis, or we can say that it's a byproduct of photosynthesis. Very important topic, which is photosynthesis. Okay, and which plant make their own food using carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight. All right. So by photosynthesis, it actually come from in the atmosphere. In certain level, it is present in the atmosphere. So now we, before jumping into the mechanism or metabolism, first we look into the anatomy of that structure basically. For example, if we gonna draw here separately, there's a nasal part, mouth part, then it will go to the trachea or windpipe, we can say. I gonna tell you roughly the structure basically. So here it gonna divide into two main domains, and then this domain will go into the separate lobe of lung. Okay, for your understanding, I'm gonna draw it. Then what happened after that, when this oxygen will go into the nasal part, nasal cavity, then it will move toward trachea. Trachea will go to the bronchioles and singular bronchus, and then this bronchus will divide into many multiple branches. You can see over here, and several millions of branches are there in each lobe of lung. and multiple, so on branches are there, and you can check here. And this sac-like structure, which I'm going in circular shape, which is actually called as alveoli. And alveoli is also called as air sac. Both names come in exam, so you need to know accordingly. Okay, so now I'm gonna label it first. All right, this is trachea. Okay, this is alveoli, and this branches is actually called as bronchioles. Okay, now here we have trachea, and trachea is also called as windpipe, as I told you. So both names are true, terminologies are true, and this is ear sac, or you can say that alveoli. Okay, alveoli. Here we have bronchioles. Okay, these are the bronchioles. And then when bronchiole go intoward, and it will again divide, and it will form alveoli and air sacs like structure. So this is basically nasal part. We can also draw it like this. Okay, it's nasal cavity where air actually come into the body. So it's the first part, nasal cavity, you can say. Okay. Beside this oxygen travel, we need to know that when oxygen get into the body, obviously our atmosphere had different type of bacterias. Okay, so like our oxygen also contain multiple bacteria and several other microorganisms. We need to know that these bacteria, how we are going to avoid, or how our body system get rid of these bacteria, because bacteria get into the body once they are providing your disease, which is sometime fetal, and sometimes it is not actually. So these bacteria, it is a structural bacteria, and you can check that here it have circular DNA present in the middle. It has also ribosomes and mitochondria too, and circular plasmid also, which is extra DNA. All right. When this bacteria, we are seeing that it is present in the atmosphere, and millions of bacteria are present in the atmosphere. So we need to know that how this bacteria is actually, if our body get into these all bacteria, so how we are providing, or how our defense system is actually responding to these microorganisms, which is bacteria. It can be fungi, it can be viruses. All right, so once in the nasal cavity, our oxygen get into the body, so these bacteria also there, and our nasal part has several hairs. You can check if we have a look into the both the holes of this nasal cavity. So we found there are some tiny holes, projections. These are actually for this bacteria to avoid into the body, like once oxygen get into the body, there will be some bacteria, and there will be some projections I'm talking about, that is tiny hairs actually. So tiny hair will remove that, or you can say that trap it, any bacteria or viruses, any microorganism come into the body, there will be trapped by these tiny projections, which are hairs actually. Then after that, okay, we are talking then when oxygen go into the body, we can take it differently. All right. So here the oxygen, this is the oxygen, and it will go into the body. Now you can check that this oxygen will go into separate lobe of lung by this pathway. All right. Now this pathway gonna direct this oxygen to the alveoli, which is the last structure and main structure where actually the exchange will happen. Okay, we will discuss it separately because that is separate topic. How this oxygen will go into the millions other of like we are composed of millions of cells, and our cells need actually oxygen. So uh, now you can check this oxygen will go into separate lobe of lung, and ultimately the alveoli structure is gonna fill with oxygen. So the question there that how if any tiny bacteria or any virus will come into the trachea, like it will not trap by our nasal cavity. Sometime it gonna move toward our tracheal pathway. So if the it will move toward trachea or tracheal lining, what happens after that? Trachea has tiny projections there too, which is called as cilia. You can write as okay. Tracheal lining have cilia, and this cilia is actually gonna cilia is also a tiny hair-like projections, and cilia also secrete um, mucus. Mucus is a watery substance. Alright, so mucus is a watery substance which gonna trap bacteria more efficiently than it will not go into the lobe of lung where it can be fetal and it will provide lung infection basically. And once inside the body, it will go to the lungs. It will harder to remove, or it will harder to um, avoid. All right, so that's why trachea is also mechanism before entering into the lungs. Trachea will actually composed of cilia. Cilia, they are tiny hair-like projections, and in this cilia there's a lining of mucus. It will secrete the mucus actually, and mucus is a watery substance which will trap bacteria more efficiently. All right, there's the anatomy and there's the pathway that how oxygen will go into the body, um, like ultimately into the lungs and alveoli. Now we need to know, and the separate, I'm gonna switch to separate board to elaborate that how this exchange will happen. All right, there is you can see low blood structure. I'm gonna draw here more clearly. You can better understand. This is alveoli. All right. This alveoli is surrounding by blood capillaries structure. All right, there is a network of capillaries, as you know, in our whole body system. Blood vessels are, entirely distributed in the body. So this blood capillaries, then they are connecting toward blood vessels. All right. So here we can tag that oxygen gonna fill with the space oxygen molecule actually. Whenever we are talking about molecules, so is it two atoms are there, so that's why we're writing oxygen too. All right, so this oxygen will come into contact, like oxygen is a gas, and for gas molecule, okay, we can write over here that oxygen is a gas, and for gas, what is the best efficient way to travel? Oxygen is a gas, and best efficient way is to travel for gas is diffusion. All right. Diffusion is the best efficient way for which gas can travel. So it will diffuse into the pores, then it will go into the blood capillaries. I can tell here. Okay, here it will diffuse and it will reach to blood capillaries. Then afterward in blood capillaries, what happens that in blood capillaries, that is the structure. I'm gonna tell you the reaction what happens in the blood capillaries and blood vessel. This oxygen will come into contact with the carbon, and it will mate is equal to I'm writing the reaction actually, which made carbonic acid, then carbon dioxide. All right, intermediate reaction is carbonic acid, and then carbon dioxide will made. All right, oxygen too. Okay, so whenever any reaction will happen, there will be some molecule which act upon it to process it more efficiently, which is actually enzyme. Enzymes are biological catalysts which are speeding the any reaction, which is biochemical reactions, and without consuming in the reaction. Okay, that's why it has vital importance in the reaction or in biochemical mechanism. So enzymes are actually biological catalyst. All right, so enzymes are biological catalyst, and they are actually speeding up the reaction. The main purpose is speeding up the reaction. And without enzyme acting on any reaction in happening in our body, it is useless. All right, so that's why enzymes are there, and they are actually speeding up and without being consuming in the reaction. Okay, so carbon dioxide will made, and then ultimately this carbon dioxide will go to outward in the environment when we exhale actually. So when we exhale, so carbon dioxide will go outward. This is all about exhalation, and enzyme is there. And one thing you need to know that enzymes are very specific to each reaction. All right, enzymes are very specific. For example, this reaction has a separate and different particular enzyme, which is carbonic anhydrase. The name for this reaction enzyme is carbonic anhydrase. Okay, so it will only react when the carbon dioxide gonna mate into the body, and this is the specificity of the enzyme which gonna act on different specific reactions. All right, so when carbon dioxide will made, so it will move toward out of the body from the same pathway from where it came, and the oxygen will come into the body. All right, so this is the whole mechanism. And how the oxygen, the question is there that how oxygen will go into entire cells of the body, because our body contain millions of trillions of cells. We can say that our gastric cells, our brain cells, our kidney cells need oxygen. All right, cardiac cells need oxygen, gastric cells need oxygen. So this oxygen will go and delivered by the special enzyme, or you can say that it's a protein, which is hemoglobin. Okay, hemoglobin, this is present in our red blood cells. All right, so hemoglobin actually gonna deliver oxygen to rest of the cells in our body. So this is how that oxygen will go into entire cell. Once reach into the blood capillaries, then it will connect to the blood vessels, and then blood vessels, you can say that they are vastly distributed in the body, and then by the blood vessels, ultimately oxygen will reach into different body cells. Okay, I think we should stop the lesson here, because there's then we have a separate topic of inhalation and exhalation as well. But anything unclear, you can ask me, and we are going to end it. I hope you understand it. All right. Okay.